G'day guys, it's Curly from Curly's Quad Shed Down Under, and how are you going today? Today we're going to discuss T-nuts. What are T-nuts? Well, T-nuts were developed for the furniture industry basically, or for the carpentry industry, just as a way of attaching bits of timber to another bit of timber, or to other items and so forth. So they're basically really an item from the furniture industry, joining industry, I suppose, for want of a better word. And they've been co-opted for roller skates over the years by various people. I was taught the process by my coach, a guy named Cole Stewart, who was actually my speed skating coach. So I learned it from him probably 45, 46 years ago. So I'm assuming that it was around before that. So obviously you're probably looking at least 50 years that people have been using T-nuts. So it's not anything new. It's not a fad. It's something that has been around for a long time. The reason they get used is one, it looks cleaner, it's neater, it just looks nicer for me personally. It just looks classier than the old bolt coming through the boot. And it also does help alleviate some of the problems that you might get with wheel bite, because you can actually make it more flush. Like I said, with these plates here, you can see that I actually recessed the plate down, hope you can see that. I recessed it so that you can see that it's nice and flush with the actual plate. So that's quite good. That's makes it handy. You don't have to do it flush. I did that with those. I actually countersunk the plates, which you might not want to do, especially if you're doing it for a customer and so forth. But my personal plates, I didn't mind doing that. You can have it so it's sitting up more, just up slightly, but you can see that's still almost fairly flat. So it's not going to actually, you're not going to rub. It's not going to have not a bolt sticking out with a sharp edge. It's going to rub into your wheel, your expensive wheel, like your Scott Corys or your Royal Assassins, so forth. So, like I said, I'm not going to go into the whole process of doing it and drilling it. I've gone over that a few times. In the next video, when I'm actually doing the next boot, the second boot of that, I'll go through it as I go through. But I just wanted to state today about T-nuts. Now, what's the pros? The pros is one, they look great, and they help alleviate wheel bite to a certain extent. They are also good if you have a slotted plate, like the Bowens have all the holes are slotted. It just makes it easy. You can slide your plate back and forth a little bit just to adjust it for if you're indoor or outdoor or whatever. So that makes it a little bit. I've never really done that myself. I'm not really a big fan of the slotted plates, but I feel that you need at least one set of holes that aren't a slot. But anyway, I'll get onto that when I do a review of the Bont plates later on, further down the track. I'll get into that. What are the disadvantages of T-nuts? Well, they're probably hard to find. You used to be able to find them in hardware stores a lot over the years, but now, of course, things don't get as much as hardware. The old corner hardware store, especially here in Australia, you've got Bunnings. Now you can buy them in Bunnings, but you can't get the really small ones like this. You tend to get a lot bigger ones. I bought these off an Australian site. It's Australian Nut and Bolt, or Bolt and Nut, I can't remember what it's called. But you can get them on Amazon. So they come in stainless steel, they come in zinc, they come in aluminium. And once again, it's all about personal preference. Depends on the size you want. These are M5, so they're a metric thread. They're an 8mm hole, but you can get bigger ones, probably you can get smaller ones. Once again, it all really depends on what you're mounting it to. Depending on the length of the shaft, you might have to cut down the length of the shaft so it doesn't protrude through the boot, and it allows the bolt to sink down. But every use case is slightly different. I never said that T-nut mounting was simple. It's relatively simple. It's basically the same process as using a normal mounting bolt. It's just that you have to then drill a little bit bigger hole. Apart from that, there is no real, and you might have to, like I said, you might have to trim down, you might have to take down the prongs. Once again, taking off the prongs really depends on the hardness of the inside of the sole. So it allows, if you can leave as much prong on as you can, it helps pull that down into the boot and stops it spinning, which makes it much easier. Those ones have been, the prongs have been taken off. There's a little bit of prong there, just probably enough, probably a bit too much there, just enough to grab. This one, I've only cut down the prong halfway, so it still has a little bit of grab, so it can grab the inside of the sole and stop it from spinning. Once again, you might have to trim that shaft down so it doesn't protrude all the way through the boot and comes out the other side, or you can drill your plate out to accommodate the shaft as it comes through. There's so many different ways of doing it. And like I said, each set of skates you mount could have slightly different ways of doing it, slightly individual ways of doing it. You can have, like I said, you can have a countersink plate, so have a countersink countersink bolt, so it goes into the plate, so it's nice and flush. You can use a button head, so it sits in with a washer, or you don't have to use a washer, so it has a nice button head finish on there. Okay, or you can use the countersink nut with a cup washer, countersink bolt with a cup washer, which is on the these ones. That's the countersink cup washer with the countersink bolt. So, like I said, you can get them in different sizes. You can get them in different materials. And like I said, good to have in your kit that you have a nice little shifter or a Dremel. I usually use a Dremel to cut off the prongs and also to cut down the shaft. And I also use a Dremel to cut down the bolts. Now, when you buy a bolt to go through, you might have to trim the bolts down. Like I said, it really depends. Everyone's individual. Everything's different. Like a Bont will have a lot thinner sole than say a Rydell or these ones. Oops, don't do that. The wheels go everywhere. Those have a fairly thick sole, so I didn't have to do much trimming on those. You can see there. You can see the I don't know if you can see that very well, but you can see that the T-nut hasn't come through all the way through the sole. I don't think I even trimmed these ones down. That one's just on, and usually you don't have to trim where it's on the heel, because the heel's usually thicker. So look, are T-nuts worth it? You don't have to do T-nuts? Of course not. You can do T-nuts if you want to. I like doing T-nuts. I've been doing T-nuts for, like I said, 50 years, and I find them just neater, classier. No, it's just they just look really schmick. Like I said, you don't have to. If you don't want to do T-nuts, don't. You don't have to do T-nuts. Like I said, they do have the advantage of cutting down wheel bite and so forth, but they are not necessary to do. You can get normal mounting bolts. I'm not sure where you get normal mounting bolts. You probably have to find a supply online of the actual proper skate mounting bolts. Sometimes Bont, when they sell their boots, will send a set of mounting bolts with them, which are non-bolts that go through the boot and the nut goes on the outside, and then you got to trim the bolt off so it doesn't get wheel bite. And so I hope that was a nice little brief explanation of T-nuts and so forth. Like I said, in the next video, when I'm mounting up that, I'll go through putting the T-nuts in, but I just wanted to get a T-nut centric sort of content out there today, and it's hot today, so I don't want to be in the shed too long. So anyway, guys, take it easy. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you all later. Catch ya. See ya.